Hi everybody, welcome back. Thanks subscribers for checking in, always good to see you. Thanks as well for those of you who... Bloody wasp. Thanks to those of you who commented on the previous video. It was so much appreciated. You know, I got some good feedback from you guys about selling the Jeep, which is always good, so I appreciate that. But guys, we've got to move on really, and the important thing to first tell you then is that the Jeep is sold. A guy came down the other day to look at it and he liked it. He'd seen all the videos and everything and he really liked it, so he didn't really need to see much when he came down here, just transferred the money. So sadly, yeah, the GPW is swapping hands really, and she's going over to her new home. It's a sad thing, but at the same time it's a good thing, you know. You can't hold on to everything. I've done lots of work and I've got a lot of enjoyment out of it, and it's time to move on really. So old Jeep is off on a new adventure and I can start another adventure as well in another way as well. So that's a shame, but hopefully she'll get a lot of have a long life ahead of her with someone else. So that's all we'll say about that. But there you go. That's the GPW over with. That's she is done. Game over. But guys, we've moved on to something else, which is good, and you guys know what it is. And it's down here. Aha. That's right. MB frame. So this arrived the other day. And this is this frame we looked at up north, and it is pretty good actually. So let's have a look at a couple of features on the MB frame then. So guys, just looking at an MB frame in comparison to a GPW frame, you notice that when you're carrying it, it does feel more sturdy than the GPW frame. There's a bit of a twist in a GPW frame, but this doesn't really twist so much, even without the middle cross member in, okay? So I think this is slightly more stiff than the GPW frame, which is interesting to start off with. Obviously the design, Ford wanted mass production more, so they used stamped pieces where they could get away with it. So they didn't have a big cross member like this, they just used the stamped cross member, the U channel in there. And things like here as well, not stamped, these are produced, you know, welded in and everything like that. So there's some differences there. The battery tray is very different as well, you know, it's an integral piece actually, riveted on and everything, and look, it's got all these supports and it's welded, so it's quite a chunky piece there, which is probably why these battery trays survive better than the GPW ones, which just sort of rust out. This is a more substantial thing, which is interesting as well. So those are the big things you notice, you know, initially, is look, there's this giant gappy area here with nothing in it, which on the GPW would have the sort of the infill area on it. It's quite incredible. But it's not looking like a bad frame actually. The guy did do some pretty good work. It's not perfect and it's not all completed actually. I've got some welds to do. Fortunately, he's helpfully marked up in areas. You can see the tape there where the welds need to go, so I'll double check those and everything like that. But I'm getting my TIG welder from my brother in a couple of days time, and I'll bring that down and we'll start doing some TIG welding. Yeah, so the next thing you notice guys with it is that the welding on the MB frame is not as good as the GPW frame, I don't think. It just looks more rough and ready. I mean, if we look down on places like here, can you see there's a lot of splatter going on and things like that. And let's have a look under here. Can you see all the splatter and everything? There's voids in the welds. It's pretty crappy really, I'd say. It's obviously strong and worked, although there is one bit down there. Let's have a look. That weld there is fractured. Probably a long time ago, I don't know. But it's not great. It's not fantastic looking welding. It obviously works. It was done at wartime when they had, you know, limited resources and means and time. So this is how it's ended up. But it's just a thing of note about these. Look at the quality of the welds there. So it's interesting. But the guy had also got hold of original horns for it, which is nice. So we got original MB horns on there, which is excellent. So that's really good. And down the rear, he's put a cross member on there, so that's nice. So that's all riveted up as well. And at the front, we've got to sort out the cross member up here. So we've got to sort out the bumper. And he didn't get round to doing the top rivets up here, okay guys, so I'm going to have to do those myself, and I'm going to use the break-off bolts for those. The break-off rivets is what I'm going to do. So we didn't use those on the GPW, we just used button head sockets, but on this one we're going to use the break-off rivets with that, so that should work out pretty well then. So that's the MB frame as it is at the moment. Bit of work to do, bit of welding, just checking everything, but I think it's pretty good. It's going to be good to get reprimed and then sprayed up and turn it into a rolling frame then.
What also came with this frame, guys, or I was able to get hold of, was a full set of springs, MB springs, which is great. So let's have a quick peek at these. So you can see the top ones are the fronts, okay, they're slightly shorter. Then the middle, the second to bottom one is the MB rear, and then the bottom one is a GPW one, which is broken. But you guys can see there's a slight difference, okay? So MB ones, let's have a look, use like a clip there, can you see, to hold them together, and they're kind of like razors, these leaves, okay? They're slightly different. And then a GPW uses bolting clips to hold it together, and then it has this special shape on the leaves. So they're quite a different design, actually. So you can tell MB and GPW ones apart. And there are also, you have to remember that during the war they changed the number of leaves in the springs, okay? So I think towards the end of the war, at least on the GPW, I'll have to check on the MB, but the number of springs in the leaves increases. But these are looking pretty good, guys. You know, with these old leaf springs, you can have them re-arched because they're supposed to be arched to a special angle so that they sit properly, but over the years they sag and lose it. I'm going to have to think about that. I imagine I'm going to take them to a specialist, and especially these front ones, which are pretty, you know, they've had some corrosion in them. He'll probably look at them and go, oh, you can't do that, mate, they'll just break. So I might leave them, I'm not sure. Leave them. So I'm not sure about that at the moment. The interesting thing is that they're arched to take a certain load, which is quite heavy, and usually it's just me driving around in a Jeep. So generally there'll probably be too hard for just my weight in the Jeep, whereas when you've got a bit of weight in there, the Jeep sits lower and it rides better. So maybe having more saggy, worn out springs is actually better in the long run for driving a Jeep when it's just you driving it around most of the time, because it probably gives you a better ride. So we'll have a think about that. I don't know what you guys' comments on that. Maybe you've got some thoughts on it, whether it's worth getting them arched now or not, or just see how it goes and take it from there. But those are the springs. And just another thing as well, look, we've got the bushing at the end here. This bushing's probably all right. I'd have to check it on the GPW one, but you can see how this one's worn, completely worn out, and it's started to wear the metal as well. So these bushings have to come out, pressed out and replaced, and we'll get new bushings in there, get these sandblasted, primed, sprayed up, and then fitted. But we've also got like a whole load of stuff coming for this, but I'll leave that for another day, guys. We've got a whole running gear and everything for this Jeep, so that's excellent. So this MB project is going to be coming along. Should be rolling frame by mid next year, I reckon, with everything in it, axles and all that sort of thing. But we'll see how we get on with that, guys. So that's the MB at the moment. So what about the MB engine then? How's that coming on? Well, guys, it went in the electrolysis bath, which was over there for 2 days. Worked really well, as you can see, fizzing away nicely there. It worked really nicely. It's cleaned it up great. The inside, the jacket is very good and all that sort of stuff, so I'm really pleased with that. But if you look at this, guys, you can see the importance of why you need to clean out properly the inside of the block, because just look at all this rust, it's unbelievable. Can you imagine leaving that all in there? So we had to remove the freeze plugs, which are here, and all you do is drill a hole in those, get a pair of pliers and twink them out. It's very easy, they just pop straight out. There's 4 on the side, 1 on the back, and remember the guy down here, that's the camshaft cover, the rear of the camshaft there, so you've got to pop this guy out when you're cleaning it as well. And then you've got the oil passages, which you can get apart, as you can see here. Bit of heat in there, bit of elbow work. They should work loose. There are also these plugs in here, these drain plugs, guys. You can see the one which is on there, and this guy down here as well. They need to be removed, okay, so that you can clean out these oil passages. And then there are 2 on the side as well, which you need to remove. We saw those previously. I was having difficulty with them. I took it up to the local mechanics, and they were able to remove those easily, which was excellent news. So you've got to get those all out, guys, if you want to clean the block up properly and get some pipe cleaners going through the oil channel there and knock all the gunge out and everything. Guys, after cleaning up properly, started to notice then that this patch, you could see the crack through the lead patch, okay, so I thought, well, that's not good, this is going to have to come off. So I started delving into it, and you can see, guys, what we got here, right? You can see the vertical crack there with some pins in it, and then along the bottom it's extended out, and it extends along the top as well underneath the distributor boss. Okay, so this has got to be sorted out properly, and you've got a couple of choices for this, guys, about how you do it, okay? You could get it pinned like it has started to be here. This is obviously like 1950s pinning or something like that. They've done a bit of it, but not all of it. So you can get it pinned, and that just replaces the crack. The whole crack gets replaced by pins which walk all the way along here, and that pins it, okay? And that's a pretty good fix. But you can also get these welded. Now you need to find the right cast iron welder to do it. But there are guys out there who know what they're doing and they'll do it. And I've spoken to a guy and he's going to cast iron weld this. So we're going to send that off to him and he's going to fix it. So we'll see how that turns out. I'm pretty hopeful for it. He sounded very confident. He says it's not an issue and he knows what he's doing. And you've got to heat the whole block up to really high temperature and everything like that. So it doesn't, you know, when you put the cast iron weld in there, okay, what happens is if the rest of the block is really cold and this bit is really, really hot where the welding's going on, when you stop welding it, the heat gets sucked out of that weld from the cool around it and it causes it to shrink and the whole thing, the cracks just reform everywhere because of the different cooling of the whole block, okay? So you have to heat the whole thing up to a uniform temperature before you can cast iron weld, I believe, and I think that's one of the problems that people have. You've got to heat the whole thing up, which is unbelievable. That's what they do, and apparently it's doable and not that difficult if you know what you're doing, I've been told. So we're going to send this off to the guy and he's going to fix it. But that's the block at the moment, guys. It's coming along. You know, we only paid 500 quid for it, remember, so even if we've got to spend a couple of hundred quid getting it repaired, we're still quids in with it at the moment. So let's see. Hopefully it's going to continue to behave itself. But I did expect there's possibly would have to sort this out probably. So there you go. That's what we're going to do there. But that's it at the moment, guys. Those are a couple of things that we've been working on. Hope you like that. Keep updated. I'll just be doing some little updates at the moment. Next time we'll be getting the axles, the driving gear, transmission, transfer case, all sorts of other things to make this a rolling frame, which is excellent news. So stay tuned for that when the goodies arrive. That should be pretty good. Oh, and also got 2 really nice fenders for it, which I'm picking up tomorrow. So we'll have a look at those. So lots coming, guys. So if you like that, click on the subscribe button, like if you like it, comment down below about what you reckon to the frame and everything, any of those questions I asked. And if you want to ask any questions, just ask those as well. And otherwise, that's it, guys. I'll see you later. Have a good week and speak to you next time. Cheers.